Mm. Good morning, YouTube fam. Good morning if you're watching the recording, or good afternoon or good night, whatever time you're watching. Get myself live on Instagram. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I think I'm live. Just double checking. All right. Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help y'all on your fitness journey. And today, I got a good topic for y'all. Really want to talk a lot about metabolic adaptation. Metabolic adaptation isn't always a negative thing, but a lot of you guys are very familiar with the negative side of metabolic adaptation, even though you don't really know it. So today I want to break it down and help you guys understand how to actually get a positive adaptation from your metabolism. So how many of you guys have ever lost weight and struggled to actually maintain that weight loss, or you lost weight and you hit a plateau and you couldn't figure out how to break it? Or maybe you've just been plugging along in the gym and you feel like things are just kind of like status quo. You're kind of not really making any progress on your body composition, just kind of staying the same. Today, I want to really talk to you guys a lot about how the changes in our body weight and also changes in our calorie intake and the types of foods that we consume can impact our metabolic rate. So if you guys get any value out of this episode or any of my episodes, please always let me know if you're watching live on Instagram. Say hello. Let me know you're watching. And if you're watching on YouTube and you have questions or anything like that, please feel free to pop them in the chat for me. I'm going to get rolling into my notes and we will go from there. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, so first and foremost, what is metabolic adaptation? I know it sounds really fancy, but let me just explain the simplicity of it. All it really is your body's natural response to changes in your body weight, body composition, or changes in your energy intake. Okay, so those are the things that are going to influence what's going on with your metabolic rate. So when people are like, oh, I have like a sluggish metabolism or I have a fast metabolism, like I want you to understand that that's not like a condition or like an actual like a case per se. It's actually just your body's adapted to changes in what your body composition is like and how much you're fueling yourself and what kind of activity you're doing. It's going to change what's going on with your metabolic rate. So I want to kind of first and foremost talk to you guys a little bit about the importance of understanding your caloric needs, because when we talk about metabolic rates, we need to factor in our overall calorie needs. So your total daily energy expenditure is your body's estimated average calorie intake needs for daily activities. So this is going to include your basal metabolic rate. That's your body's needs at complete rest. That's going to factor in your age, your height, your weight, your bones, your organs, your basic systems, keeping the lights on, but also your lean muscle mass. And then you've got your non-exercise activity. That's the stuff that you're doing outside of the gym. This plays a huge factor in your energy needs. So like how often are you sitting versus standing? How much are you walking around and moving around versus sitting? Are you a full-time athlete where you're training for multiple hours a day? That's also an impact on non-exercise activity. You've got the thermic effect of feeding. This is the amount of energy that your body is going to need to break down the foods you're consuming into usable energy sources. So it's going to break down your proteins, your carbs, your fats, but also your micronutrients. And some foods are going to have a higher thermic effect than others. Different types of foods. So like obviously more processed foods are going to be easier on the digestion, which might be a little bit lower on a thermic rate. Whereas things that are more whole food based are going to be a little bit higher on that thermic rate. And then on top of it all, you've got your exercise activity. That's your time spent in the gym trying to build muscle, get fitter and all that kinds of stuff. So that's actually what people spend the most time thinking about is their energy in the gym. And the other things actually have a much larger impact on your overall energy needs. Okay, so why I wanted to mention this is because when we're talking about metabolic adaptation, this is something that happens gradually over time. Your total daily energy expenditure isn't going to be the same from day to day, right? We're going to have slight fluctuations, but it's a general average based on our activity level over the course of the week. In fact, I personally have been thinking that I would like to simplify it even more. And rather than looking so much at daily stuff, we look at weekly averages, because weekly averages on everything are a lot more impactful on what's going on with our body fat percentage, our lean muscle mass, and all of that stuff. Those day-to-day fluctuations are pretty normal. So we're looking at knowing that our metabolic adaptations are going to take time to take in place. So when people are like, oh, if you build lean muscle tissue, you're burning more calories. Well, yeah, slightly you are, but it takes a long time to build enough muscle tissue to create that much of a change on your metabolic rate. So it's why when people are like trying to lose fat, they're like, should I be doing more cardio or building or doing more strength training? Well, really, if your goals are fat loss, you want to be strength training to maintain your muscle mass, but the cardio might make fat loss a little bit easier because you'll be burning more calories. But this is the kinds of stuff that I want to kind of talk to you guys about. And if you are coming to my workshop on Thursday, I'm going to really be deep diving into some more specific things and giving you guys some actionable steps in this. But today, I'm going to be talking about metabolic adaptation. I got some really cool shit that I'm going to be putting out on Thursday. So if you're watching this and this is kind of sparking your interest, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm going to have to try and keep it condensed to about 60 minutes because I got to keep you guys engaged. So let's talk about how our body adapts. All right. So there are two ways our body's going to adapt. Well, really three ways. The first one is changes in our body weight, as I mentioned. So as you do lose weight, you are going to be burning less calories at rest. Great analogy is if I put a 20-pound weight vest on and I go for a walk, I'm going to be burning more calories per step than if I didn't have the weight vest on because my body is under more stress. I'm working harder. That's why I don't get so hung up on those damn little fitness trackers telling you how many calories you're burning, right? So changes in your body weight. If I'm lowering my body weight, I'm going to slow my BMR a little bit. If I'm increasing my body weight, that means I'm burning more calories. And this is why a lot of people that are significantly overweight or even obese, they struggle so much because they try and drop calories so drastically. Okay. I have a woman right now who is over 200 pounds, works out 3 days a week, maybe 4 sometimes, 30 to 40 minutes a day. And it's like I think it's F45. And she's dieting on about 2,100 calories and she's seeing progress and she's still going out and have drinks and stuff like that. So don't just think that you have to drastically cut calories in order to lose weight. Sometimes we're going to talk about how that can be a negative impact on your metabolism. Okay. So if you weigh more, you're going to be burning more at rest. If you lose weight, you're going to be burning less at rest. Muscle mass, as I mentioned, does also increase your BMR in a positive way, but it does take time. So those of you guys with more muscle mass do have a higher basal metabolic rate than those that do not have as much muscle mass. Muscle is a very expensive tissue. In fact, this is a little tangent, but I actually recently read a study that was saying that people that have a lower body fat percentage and higher muscle mass are less prone to cancer because muscle is so expensive and requires so much energy that it makes it hard for the body to feed cancer when there is a lack of excess energy as stored body fat and there's so much muscle that energy is going towards. So just a little thought for those of you guys out there that have health concerns, to really be focusing on building and maintain that lean muscle mass. Okay, so that's one way that your body can metabolically adapt if we change our weight. Another way our body can metabolically adapt is with changes in our calorie intake. Okay, so if I increase my calorie intake, I'm actually going to be burning more calories initially to start breaking that food down. Okay, my body is going to adapt to that change in activity level or from the energy intake. And with the extra energy intake, I might initially start burning more calories because I've got more energy. My body is working harder to break down that food. But over time, if I'm not using up the extra stored energy and I'm putting myself into a calorie surplus, that extra energy will be stored as body fat. And I will eventually start putting on body fat. That's an adaptation from the increase in calorie intake. Okay. So initially, if you are under eating and you start increasing your calorie intake, you're like, oh, my energy levels are up. I'm burning more calories. And sometimes people are like, I lost weight and I'm eating more. That's usually why. I lost weight, I'm eating more. It's also because maybe you're actually eating more food. So, but over time, if you're going up too high, you can store body fat. That's another type of adaptation. When we lower calorie intake, there's a couple of things that happen. One of them is what a lot of people want. You want to lose body fat. Okay. In order for you to lose body fat, you essentially have to have an empty gas tank. I think I talked about this on last week's episode, or I talked about it on a recent Instagram reel. My days are all just kind of like flooding together because I do so many different things. But you have to empty the gas tank. Your body has to be in a deficit long enough to say, okay, I've exhausted all of my glycogen stores, all of my triglycerides from my body fat, and now I have to tap into my actual stored body fat in order to fuel whatever I'm trying to do at that moment. So it does take time for that to happen, and it requires a lot of consistency, but the right dosage of calories. Because if you go too low, what happens is another adaptation. As we drop calories, your body's going to give you signals, hey, I'm not getting enough energy, and you get more cravings. You also will start to burn less calories over time. So if I've been in a calorie deficit for a long time and my body's going to start to recognize that, I'm going to start to burn less calories. One is natural. So if you're eating less food, the thermic effect of feeding goes down. You're not eating as much, so you're not going to be burning as much just to digest your food. But the second one is that your body's going to start to recognize that there's a need to conserve energy. So you're not going to burn as many calories in your day. We can see impairments in some of your system functions. So some people will experience, women, primarily you'll get issues with your period. So you'll feel maybe less energized in your day. Maybe your sleep is getting impacted. So different things are going on in your body that you're not even, your gut stops moving as well. Everything kind of just gets a little bit turned down, like the dial gets turned down on all the things just to kind of conserve energy a little bit. It's kind of like when your battery is like about to die, like your body, your phone goes into low energy mode. Same thing your body does. It's kind of like putting you into like a low energy state. And that's a negative adaptation. So the third way, I guess before I go into the third way that your body can adapt is changes in your activity level. Okay. So, you get your weight changes, your calorie changes, food changes, but now you've got changes in your actual activity level. If you significantly increase your activity or decrease your activity, your metabolic rate will also adapt to that as well. So increases in activity level are going to cause your body to obviously burn through more energy. Changes in your fitness level will make you more efficient at accessing glycogen for carbohydrates, or glycogen or carbohydrates for fuel. Those are positive adaptations. But over time, your body also adapts to that. And then it's like, oh, I was losing weight when I was increasing my activity level, but now it just like stalled out. Or vice versa, if you decrease your activity level, you could see a change in your metabolic rate. Now you're not burning through as many calories. So if you become injured and you are normally used to walking 10 to 15,000 steps a day, and now you're only getting 5 or 6, like that can play a big impact, So basically there's 3 things that are going to impact your body's needs to adapt: weight changes or body composition changes, calorie changes, and then obviously your lifestyle changes in terms of movement. So activity in the gym, outside of the gym. All right. So why I'm telling you guys all of this is because a lot of you guys know how to cut out things, cut out food groups, cut back on things, control your calorie intake. And a lot of people really have a hard time. You might have a hard time with this concept of being able to eat enough, right? I'm not saying to eat in a surplus. I'm not saying that you need to be eating tons and tons of calories if that freaks you out, but it's knowing that you need to know what is the right amount of calories for you to thrive, okay? With that data, it's also important to know that your body is going to change its metabolic needs, and you need to be able to know how to adjust with those changes. So what I mean by that is, if you have been in a fat loss phase for a significant amount of time and your body is now adapting, and what was hold on one second. My cat, will you stop? Don't you even think about it. It's been a while since he's acted up, and I have a puzzle and I don't want him to mess up my puzzle. Okay, so as I was saying, is if you've been in a calorie deficit for a long time and now your body is adapting and you're not seeing any results, it can be super frustrating. You're like, what do I do? I've not changed anything, but all of a sudden the weight stopped moving. That's your body's adapted. And there's a couple of things you can do depending on where you're at. You can try and drop calories down, which might be effective, but it also depends on how low your calories already are. I usually will assess where is this person's calorie intake at in relation to their basal metabolic rate. And I also keep, as a coach, I know what it feels like. Like, I can take a look at somebody's calories and say, I would be miserable eating that amount of calories. And I know if I'm miserable there, then they're going to be miserable there. So I kind of use myself as a gauge of like, okay, this is just not sustainable for this person based on the amount of activity that they do. So in which case you might benefit from bringing calories up a little bit. The other thing you can do is maybe keeping calories the same and looking at changing your energy output. So increasing your non-exercise activity, maybe bumping up your workouts throughout the week, whatever you can do there. So it's important to know, like, if you're that person, like I was seeing results, but now they've kind of stalled out, you might need to go increase in calories, increase your movement, or decrease your calories. And I think this is where people really struggle, because on your own, that can feel like, what do I do? And the easiest thing for most people to do is actually the hardest thing. Just drop calories. Just drop calories. And that honestly doesn't always work. I do a lot of different things with my clients that I'm going to be talking about on my workshop on Tuesday. And sometimes I throw in like some calorie cycling, where we just take like a week break. We increase things a little bit. We do a couple of different things to kind of keep people from to keep you from adapting. So that's one thing. Now let's just say the other case. Let's say you are somebody who you actually lost a significant amount of weight, and now you've plateaued, or maybe you're even happy where you're at, and you're having a hard time maintaining it. Okay. This is where usually people are like, they're trying so hard just to stay consistent. Like, I just got to keep holding on. And you're like holding on like for dear life. And literally it's slowly, the fire is dwindling, and it's easier for you to look to hyper palatable foods, the junk food, and be like, man, I would give anything for a cheeseburger. Like, that's your body saying, like, I don't want to be in this place right now. So your body's trying to fight that change. And again, this is where sometimes knowing you might need to actually learn how to eat more and actually increase calorie intake. Just by doing that, you might save yourself the 15-pound regain that typically happens when people spend too long in a diet phase. Okay. So knowing how to shift and pivot into maintenance is so important. Guys, weight loss is not the goal. Fat loss is not the goal, right? Living lean is the goal. So why would you want to live on such like minimal food? Like, living in a place where you're just like always hungry all the time, right? So like, it's important to know that at that point, your biggest mistake might be never actually allowing yourself to build flexibility back in, to rebuild your calorie intake. And that's really, really important. Okay. So 2 cases so far I've talked about. One, you are somebody who has lost weight, but now you're plateaued, or you've lost some fat and you're plateaued, you're stuck. Case number 2 is you are somebody who lost weight and you can't seem to maintain it. You tend to keep going up and down, and you're trying to figure out why. The third case, you're somewhere in the middle. You're that person, you're going to the gym, you feel okay. And this is a lot of my clients. You feel okay. Maybe you've got an extra 10, 15 pounds of body fat. It's not making you unhappy until you see yourself in photos with your shirt off. You don't feel great. You don't feel bad. You just kind of are plugging along. Your gains in the gym are there, but they're not consistent. This is pretty typical. You're kind of slightly underfed, slightly overtrained, and don't even realize it. And when I say overtrained, I'm not just talking about the gym. I'm talking about in life. Like, you're just slightly overstressed, slightly underfed. And what's happened is your body is now adapted. And this is like your new norm. And for you, oftentimes what I find is just optimizing, like learning how to optimize your calorie intake to eat as much, building your calorie surplus, or building your calorie ceiling before going into a surplus, is really what your body needs. All of a sudden you're like, oh shit, like the cravings are down. Like, a lot of people in this population are notorious for like having 5 to 6 days of consistency, but then like they just can't. After that, they're like done and they need a break. But yeah, by learning how to actually optimize and eating just to maintain as with eating as much as possible, you are going to feel better and look better. Like this population, you are somebody who like goes to the gym regularly. You're putting the work in and you're just kind of stuck. Okay. So metabolic adaptation is something that can be so frustrating. It can be so frustrating. But these three cases are all very easily fixed. Couple of things we do. We optimize calorie intake. So we want to make sure we're giving you as many calories as possible. But I also look at the types of foods that you're consuming. Okay. So like if you are somebody, I can go down the rabbit hole of macro tracking. In fact, I'm going to go down a slight rabbit hole. Why I don't call myself a macro coach, because if I'm only looking at numbers, I'm doing you a disservice. All right. Because two people eating the same numbers are not eating the same diet. And that's going to have a very big change, a big impact on one person's results versus the other. So don't get so hung up in the whole macro game. All right. Food quality does matter. So I look at what you're eating. That's going to impact your thermic effect of feeding. I look at your activity level. Sometimes I might tell you to decrease activity. Other times I'm like, yeah, you got to move a little bit more throughout your day. Going to a 30-minute high intensity boot camp class a day and then sitting on your ass from the hours of 8 to 5 is just not going to do it for your metabolism. Like you're literally storing. Your body is storing all day. I don't care. Unless you want to live on 1,200 calories a day, you got to move more. Okay. So we got to looking at things we can do there. It's funny. I've been seeing a lot of posts now talking about like exercise snacks, right? So like, rather than like going for walks, people are like, let me just do some air squats and push-ups. I love it. It's so cool, right? Like just going to randomly in my office, I'm going to just take a second and in between this meeting, I'm going to knock out 20 air squats and 20 push-ups. I don't know, whatever you want to do to get yourself moving. So I'm all over the place today. Can you just tell? I just love talking about this shit. So you want to know what to change. So we want to look at food quality. We want to look at calories. We want to look at activity level. I also look at optimizing things like sleep and hormones and stuff like that. So, I look at feedback for that. So digestion should get better. All of that stuff should be improving, but it comes down to changing what you're eating, how much, and how much you're moving. So those are the three things that you have the control over, and they will impact the sleep, the stress, and all the other stuff like that. So I am just going to put that plug out there again, guys. And if you guys have questions about any of this stuff, please feel free to ask me. I am just looking here. This coming Thursday, I am doing a live event. It's at 2:00 p.m. Guys, I have some really interesting things that I want to talk about. I was going to keep this a very simple, straightforward fat loss talk, but I'm going to actually be presenting something to you guys that I have not presented to anybody, and I'm a little scared to even talk about it on here because it's something that nobody else in the nutrition coaching world talks about. And if I'm wrong, you can tell me I'm wrong on Thursday. But it is something that I have unique to my program. And I recognized it as I was putting my notes together for you guys, because a lot of coaches out there will talk to you guys about macros and food quality and, oh, get off the diet trends. Like that's all good shit. 100%, I'm the exact same thing, but there's something very different that I want to present to you guys. And it comes down to understanding your metabolic type. And I'm going to be breaking down how to determine your metabolic type and how to use that in your fat loss journey, because that is probably the key to what I do with my clients. And as I recognize that I do customized nutrition coaching, that's what my program is. That's what it's based on. It's not based on, oh, I'm going to customize your macros, because let me be honest, y'all can go online and find a custom set of macros and customize them for yourself. But knowing how to effectively apply that to your specific metabolic type is different. And knowing what your body responds best to is also going to be different than everybody else. So this is something that I am super excited to be breaking down on Thursday. As I was getting my notes together, I'm like, this is what people need to see. All of the diet plans, all of the fat loss tips and tricks and all that stuff doesn't matter until they understand what their body responds to best. And I recognize this because I know how my body responds when I'm in a fat loss phase. I know how my body responds now when I'm in a calorie surplus. I understand those things, and I want you guys to understand it. Okay. So just to get back to recapping for those of you guys that are jumping on here, after as I'm finishing up my 30-minute talk about metabolic adaptation, let me just recap. Okay, so metabolic adaptation is your body's natural response to changes in your body weight, your energy intake, or your energy output, and it happens over time. Okay, we lose weight, we gain weight, our metabolic needs change. We add activity, we decrease activity, our metabolic needs change. We change the amount of food that we're consuming, either by volume or quality or quantity, our metabolic needs change. And if you're somebody who has been stuck at a plateau, you are somebody that lost weight and you regained it, or you're somebody who has been plugging along in the gym and you're kind of just blah, like you're just buzzing along, the lights are on, but it's not real bright. Okay, you might be metabolically adapted in a negative way. Your body is now burning a little bit less calories at rest, and it's making it really hard for you to enjoy the process of improving your body composition, whether that's, with weight loss or building muscle, and enjoying the process, right? Like you're just miserable. Okay, so by learning how to manipulate your metabolic rates, you can actually fix this and have a positive adaptation. It normally requires more food, higher quality food, and sometimes changes in your activity level, even your intensity, we can talk about that too. This is all stuff that I'm going to be really diving into this Thursday. Okay. So if you guys want the link to the masterclass and you don't have it, just go ahead and pop in the comments here, like masterclass. Before I hop off, I'll make sure that I write your name down, because I do everything myself, and I will go ahead and send you over the link. You can also see it in the show notes if you are there. And I'm just looking to see, better late than never, Nassos. Oh my gosh. Hey, Dad. What's up? My dad is, I think, watching. I think that's my dad watching me. Hey, Daddy. That's so cool. I didn't know my dad was on here. That's awesome. Hopefully he's still on here. I don't know. It was 8:29. But that's what I got for today, guys. If you guys have any questions about metabolic adaptation, about your own fat loss journey, about your own plateaus, you could always send me a message. So Christy and Jay Hawk, Christy Chambers, Jay Hawk, I will go ahead and, you know what, let me just go ahead and do this. My Fit Body RX. I'll make sure I DM it to you guys too, because I don't know how to save these. I am so bad about that. Okay, myfitbodyrx.com/fat loss masterclass. Let me see if that worked. I don't know that you can actually click it from Instagram though. That's the only weird thing I don't like about Instagram is, when you put a link in in the caption, don't you think it would be so much easier if they allowed you to go right to the link? So I don't know why Instagram doesn't do that. Facebook does. So what other questions you guys have today? Nutrition, training, life, the open. Can I add a little bit on my own journey today? You guys want to hear about my open experience? And if you don't, then just say, if anybody says yes, then I'll talk about my open experiences here. If you don't, then I'm just going to move on. I'm only going to talk about it if it's relevant. Oh man, look at that. I still have the sticker on my cup. Still. Any other questions? Metabolic adaptation. Oh, Maria, yes, you want to hear about it. All right. Let me fill you in a little bit on my open story then before I sign off. I was going to record a second episode on this, but I still don't like talking about myself. Guys, let me talk to you about my open experience this year. Why not? All right. So I am going to backtrack a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to make it super quick. 2023, it's January. I made the decision to have shoulder surgery. And I thought it was going to be the best thing ever. I was going to have shoulder surgery. I was going to come back feeling good. I was going to spend the year focusing on, my nutrition coaching business, rehabbing, giving myself a break after competing for the last, 13 years in CrossFit. And my body had other plans. 2023 was probably one of the hardest years of my life. I didn't think it was going to be that hard, but, I started going through shoulder recovery and things were going really well. I had decided that I was going to try and run a marathon, run an Ironman triathlon, and I was going to try and squat 300 pounds at the end of the year because it was the beginning of the year. I was like, I have time to train for that. And so I made the decision to do that. And 2 months after shoulder surgery, I was running and I tore both of my hamstrings. No idea how it happened. And I couldn't do anything about it. Literally, I could not sit for over a year without pain. I could not sit. I was sitting on a heating pad, and I didn't talk about this. I also stopped sleeping. I was waking up at 3:00 in the morning, couldn't fall back asleep, didn't talk about this. It was really bad. I was becoming an insomniac. I was anxious all the time. I was depressed. I couldn't work out the way that I wanted to. I lost a lot of weight pretty quickly. And later on, 2023, my hamstrings started to kind of recover enough for me to get back to doing some movements. I couldn't lift, but I could do things like I was able to still do double unders. And I had able to start to get back into running a little bit on my air runner. And then I was running one day and my ankle went. And it was like, are you kidding me? So that was towards the end of 2023. And so at that point, I had to cease all running, still couldn't lift. And I ended up in the hospital at the end of 2023 in heart failure, kidney failure, liver failure for, I don't even know what reason. Like, still don't even know why my body was just falling apart. So fast forward, I was depressed, anxious, and just struggling with all of that stuff into 2024. And about May of 2024 was when I started to get some improvements in my ability to lift again. So I was able to start putting some weight on the barbell, 95-pound deadlifts, like slow, still very afraid of hurting myself, still no running. And it was very frustrating, very, very frustrating. Like, that was what I thought was going to be a year of me getting into the best shape of my life was literally the biggest setback of my life. And then 2024 came in, like I said, around May, I started to train again. And then I guess around September, I started to feel really sick again, like what was happening to me the year before, which when I ended up in the hospital, like I was getting weird swelling and stuff like that. To fast forward to the weekend of Thanksgiving, I was so unbelievably like, just, I don't know what was wrong with me. I like couldn't even, like, I was trying to pull the turkey out of the oven and I was like passing out, and ended up in the hospital to find out that I was severely anemic and needed a blood transfusion, iron transfusions. And that was just December of last year. So 4 months ago. So I had no idea what was going to happen to me this season with the Open. I'm still very weak. I lost a lot of mass in my legs specifically. And it's been very frustrating to see myself go from being so fit to being so unfit in a lot of ways. I mean, machines is harder, like everything is harder. My run paces are slower. Everything is slower. I couldn't even do double unders before 25.2. My first time doing them was the week before. I did a few reps just to see if I could do them. And so when I went into this season, I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea where I was going to be. And I think for a lot of people, it'd be like, why don't you just give up? Like, why do you keep chasing this? I honestly, I didn't know what I was chasing. I just knew that I love CrossFit. I love training. I love what I do. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to compete or not at all. I just wanted to be able to complete the Open. That was my expectations. And I was really worried about being able to do that. And anyways, first workout comes out, 25.1. I was like, I can do that. I did it, knocked it out. I feel like it was like a workout where I'm like, oh, I could have pushed a little harder. Like I hadn't been in a competitive state in so long, so I was just like, okay, I'll be happy with my results. I did it. I did the best I could. I just moved on. I think the hardest workout for me this year was 25.2, because I had so many expectations based off of where I was in 22 for 22.3. That was before I had shoulder surgery. It was when I was having shoulder problems, but I was so much stronger. So much like the barbell was like nothing to me back then. So for me, it was more so dealing with a little bit of shoulder stuff. So my bar muscle ups were probably the hardest part of that workout. Last time I did it. And this time they were still hard, but it was mostly because the taxing nature of the barbell. And it was really frustrating wanting to be fitter than I was in 22. But I just wasn't. And then I had to really like tell myself, like, Cheryl, like, how can you even think that somebody who has been through all this shit that you have been through in the last 2 years could even be close to that picture of you at that point in your life? Like, you have a long way to go to get back there. But that's what the open does. You put these expectations on yourself, and that's what happens. So that was really hard for me to like, I actually almost quit. I was like, I should just like not do the open because I didn't want to embarrass myself. I was like, you're so embarrassing. Like, you're so unfit. Like, look at what you've done to yourself. Like, all the negative self-talk. I just was all over myself negative. But I got through it, and surprisingly was still in an okay spot. And then the last workout was just one of those workouts where I was like, okay, I can do this. Again, I was a little scared of the barbell. When you have 2 hamstring tears, deadlifting is very scary. I had a 350-pound deadlift, and I don't even know that I can deadlift 225 pounds right now. I have no idea where my deadlift is at. I probably could, but I haven't tested it in so long. So when I went into it, I was like, okay, I need to be pacing on the barbell. But surprisingly, the barbell felt really good. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm like ripping through these deadlifts. I'm ripping through these wall walks. So I did the workout, and the freaking row was just like, I literally want to tell you guys that what I experienced in that last workout was, this is what it feels like to be competing again. And in that final row, I envisioned myself, like, I'm going to get emotional, like being back on that competition floor and like being like, this is you going for that, like final workout, that like final push. Like, you just give it everything you got, because you don't know like what could happen. Like, I didn't expect all that to happen to me over the last 2 years, and it did. And there's nothing I can do about it. But when I went into that last workout, I said, nothing else matters. I got in that row where I said, you know what? You give yourself the opportunity to see what you can do right now. Okay. And that's what I did. And I haven't pushed that hard in a workout in so long. And I'm getting emotional. Grab a paper towel here. But anyways, so how do I feel this year about the open? I loved the open. I think it was a great test and a way for, it was just a good experience, I think, for everybody. I think that, everybody learned something. You always learn something from the open, whether you care to compete or not. You're just a person in the gym, just doing your thing. It's always fun to test yourself a little bit. I will say this, after the open, I have definitely felt the coming down off that adrenaline high. And like this week, I'm like taking it a little bit easier. Like, but it's cool. Like the last workout, I definitely was like, I want to redo it because I know I can get better. And I haven't felt that way in a long time, so that's my open experience. I'm very proud of myself that I was able to qualify 99 percentile, both in my age group, but also as an individual, which is really cool. I don't know what I'm going to do this season. I don't know if I'm going to keep going because, like I said, my body's still in the healing phases of what was 2 years of a lot of setbacks. So we'll see like what happens. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the open. A complete tangent from today's topic, but I hope that you guys all had an amazing open experience. And guys, have fun with the Community Cup. I haven't actually looked at the next steps, but I know that there's going to be like a big virtual event for those of you guys that did the open and you want to do something else besides just going into the virtual semifinals or the age group semifinals. That Community Cup is going to be a fun weekend too. And, people can say what they want about giving CrossFit their money. Like, it's an experience. You guys all that paid for CrossFit Gate Open this year, y'all know you were on that leaderboard. Y'all were looking at things. Y'all used it. So don't feel like you just wasted your money. You did use it, So if you're going to do the Community Cup, do it. Have fun with it. I might probably do it. So, but yeah, that's it. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm glad that I didn't save that for a total episode because I would have felt guilty talking about myself for an hour. So, anyways, I'm going to rewind because I know a lot of you guys aren't competitive athletes. Y'all just want to look good naked and feel good in the gym. So if you want to join my masterclass, it is live event, workshop, seminar, whatever you want to call it, this Thursday, 2 p.m. Y'all will be able to ask me questions. So it's going to be via a Zoom format. So yes, agreed. Judy, I love that I contributed to Colton's winnings. I 100% agree. Guys, and I've also made a tangent to talk about this is like the athletes that are doing the open, like I'm so proud of all of them because all the shit that CrossFit has been through over the last, really since 2020, the people that stay strong, that stay true to CrossFit and keep doing the open and stuff like that, they're not doing it because of HQ. They're not doing it. A lot of them aren't even doing it because of the money. People like Colton aren't doing it because of the money. It's a great benefit. They're doing it because they truly love the community and the sport. And that's why they're still in it. So there's a lot of ups and downs and all that stuff with it. But those people that are still in it, they are doing it because of you guys. So, and that makes me happy. So that's all I have today. If you guys have any other questions if you guys have any topics you want me to talk about via, live or whatever, fat loss, performance, training, nutrition, anything you got. Okay. I know I'm talking a lot about CrossFit, but this is what I do. This is I would like to call it my 8 to 5 but it's really like my 5 to 9 and my like 2 to 5. So I'm pretty much always doing this every single day. So if you guys have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. Until the next episode, I will see you all later. Bye.